What's up, y'all? BK with the Golden Paddle, back here to bring you some amazing pickleball content. Now, if you've ever seen my videos before, or if you know me at all, you know I'm a huge fan of 6-0 products, so I'm super excited to be doing another paddle review for a brand new paddle that 6-0 is about to put out. And I've been playing with it for a couple of weeks now, and I think it's something really interesting that they've done with one of their really popular models that's now coming into the game with a little bit of a change, and I think y'all are gonna really like it. So in this video, we're gonna go ahead and review the new Infinity Black Diamond from 6-0. Let's do it. Now, 6-0 has been around for a while and is really popular in the pickleball community because they put out only the highest quality of paddles. I've used 6-0 for a very long time. I've played with the Black Diamond as my permanent paddle for a very, very long time, and I was in love with that paddle until I went for more of a control game because the Black Diamond was just a little too powerful for me. So what they've done with this Infinity Black Diamond is they've basically gone with the exact shape and exact face of the original Black Diamond, but they've taken the edge off. Absolutely no edge on this paddle. It's a beautiful, clean look on this Black Diamond Infinity, where they've taken the edge off to really clean up the paddle and almost give it a better feel to increase the touch on the paddle while keeping the same face, same shape, and same core that gave them the dependable power that the original Black Diamond has. So in this video, we're gonna go over the specs of this new paddle, what it did well, what it didn't do well, who it would suit, and why you should get your hands on the new Black Infinity Diamond. Diving right into the specifications of this paddle, the paddle comes in at a length of 16.3 inches and a width of 7.5 to 7.7 inches. The core thickness is again a 16mm paddle, which is standard from their original Black Diamond, and the grip length is a 5.5 inch grip, which is again very standard for all of their premium paddles. The grip circumference is a little interesting here because the original launch, which is going to happen on the 8th of January, this launch will have a 4.5 inch circumference on the grip, which is a little thicker than their other paddles, which used to come in at 4.25. So after this initial run, all following runs will have a 4.25 inch grip instead of this original 4.5 inch grip on the launch. So if you're looking for a thicker grip on a 6-0 paddle, which I personally was really looking forward to, I loved using this original run because the 4.5 inch grip gave me really good control and really good feel, and I didn't have to double or triple over grip it to get the control that I wanted. However, if you're someone with small hands and you like a thinner grip, definitely wait for the following runs, which will come in at a 4.25 inch grip. Now, the average weight of this paddle comes into about 8.2 ounces. I actually got a really light paddle at 8 ounces, and I do think that taking the edge off this paddle has made the paddle lighter, which is really interesting because now you get to add a lot of weight and customize it to your liking. The swing weight of this paddle comes into 108 and the twist weight comes in at 5.87. We'll go into more detail on what these two factors mean. Now, the face of this paddle is a Japanese Toray proprietary raw composite, which is something that only 6-0 has on the market. Nobody else on the market has this face on their paddle, which makes the Black Diamond stand out and is honestly why it was my permanent paddle for such a long time, because I absolutely love the face of this paddle. Now, as with the original Black Diamond, my favorite part about the Black Infinity Diamond is the power. The power on this paddle, again, stands toe-to-toe with some of the best power paddles out there because this face really does such a good job of deflecting the ball, really powerful, and helps you contain your drives and your counters really well on the court. If you're trying to use a power game where you're more of a third shot driver rather than a third shot dropper, definitely take a look at the Black Infinity Diamond. The power game is absolutely exceptional with this paddle. I really enjoyed hitting third shot drives and countering at the net with this paddle. And honestly, the net game was probably my favorite part about this paddle. While I was at the net, I felt very comfortable finishing points and making sure that there's no way that that next ball that was coming at me was something that my opponent was attacking. I was always able to stay aggressive, stay on the offense, and control the point the way I needed to. Now, apart from the power, the pop on this paddle, it was also really exceptional. And the difference between power and pop is power comes from a stationary ball. how much power you're able to generate off of a dead ball situation, such as a serve or a return or a drive where the ball that you're hitting is pretty slow, whereas pop comes to how quickly the ball deflects off the paddle in a power setting. So if somebody's driving at you and you're trying to counter at the net, how powerfully does that ball pop off the paddle and how quickly does that ball deflect off the paddle? Now this paddle again did a fantastic job at the net on those counter situations, and I really enjoyed the pop of this paddle because I was still able to control the ball, but when I was in position to finish a shot and if somebody sped up above net height, I was able to step in and really just jab at the ball and finish the point really easily compared to some other paddles on the market. Now, if you've ever watched my game, you know I love to spin the ball. Spinning the ball is probably my favorite thing to do on the pickleball court, so when I'm talking about spin, it really does mean a paddle has exceptional spin. When I was using the Black Diamond, initially I didn't feel a major difference as far as the spin went, because it was still pretty much what I was used to with all the other 6-0 paddles, so it didn't really stand out to me. But where I really found a difference with spin was in those close net situations where I was trying to hit slice dinks or slice volleys or topspin rolls where the ball would grab on a little bit stronger if my opponent gave me a softer shot to work with. So if my opponent was dinking or was trying to hit third shot drops and I was trying to really spin the ball, the paddle did a really good job of grabbing onto the ball in those situations. At the baseline, I didn't find the spin to be anything exceptional because when my opponent is hitting the ball with some power on a drive and I'm trying to slice or topspin that next ball, I didn't feel like the paddle did a really good job of grabbing and spinning the ball when the ball was hit harder at my paddle. However, as I mentioned, if it was a softer shot, the paddle did do a really good job of grabbing the ball, and overall this is still a very high spin rate paddle. This paddle does have really good spin, so if you're someone that really likes to use spin in their game, definitely check out the Infinity Black Diamond. This is the one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about the Black Diamond is because we all know that 6-0's Black Diamond is one of the best power paddles out there. But the reason they had to go with an edgeless model is because people were really complaining about how it felt on the court and that they couldn't get much control in their drops and dinks because the paddle was too hot. So taking the edge off really did a good job of giving you a better feel for the ball while you're playing with this paddle. I felt pretty consistent in all of my drop situations. I was able to consistently drop the ball from the baseline, and I was able to hit fairly consistent dinks from the kitchen as well. So I had not a lot of problems in those two scenarios. The only place where I felt the paddle was lacking a bit of control was in the transition zone. I definitely struggled with this paddle in the transition zone to reset balls that were hit at me with some speed, especially when they would bounce off the ground and come in with an upward trajectory. If someone hit a drive and it was out of the air, about chest high or waist high, and I was simply volleying the ball back into the kitchen, I found it fairly comfortable because I was able to use that height and use that trajectory to give it back to my opponent. However, if they would hit a drive or an overhead that would bounce into the ground and come with an upward trajectory, I found I had a hard time trying to control that ball that was coming up because it would pop off my paddle really hard and give my opponent more attackable situations. So that was the one area that I really struggled with this paddle, and if you're looking to improve your control game at the transition zone, definitely look at some other paddles on the market. I personally love the Voris from Cliff Pickleball. The Lux from Selkirk is a great option as well, and the Double Black Diamond from 6-0 along with the Ruby both do a good job of playing the transition zone game. So if you are looking to improve your transition zone game, this might not be the paddle for you. Now, one of the major drawbacks for me with this paddle was the twist weight. Because they did take the edge off of this paddle, the sweet spot feels very constricted to the center of this paddle where that 6-0 marker is. And if you did hit any off-center shots, the paddle does tend to give you a little bit of shock, and because the twist weight comes in at a 5.87, which is fairly low for a premium paddle, what you'll find is if the ball does hit one of the sides or one of the corners, the paddle tends to really twist in your hand really fast because the paddle doesn't have as much stability because there's no edge on the paddle. So that is one area that I definitely found it a little hard to play with because the edge really did seem to give me a lot of feedback in my wrist and my elbow. So if you're someone that struggles with tennis elbow issues or tendon issues in your wrist, I would try and stay away from the Infinity line of paddles from 6-0 because the twist weight does come in lower, which does mean the paddles give you a little bit more shock, which again, for 6-0, it's a good sacrifice because this does have a really good control game for the black diamond face, and is definitely something that will help you out with your game if you're able to consistently hit the ball in the sweet spot. But if you're prone to making errors or you're prone to hitting off-center shots, this paddle is a little harder to play with because of that low twist weight. Now the price of this paddle comes out to $220 USD. I do think it's a little bit on the pricier side, but as far as a power paddle goes, this does stand toe-to-toe among some of the best of them. It of course does not have the power of the Gearbox Pro Power Series, but it is a very good power paddle that will honestly help you stay consistent with your drops and dinks as well, which I do think is something that the Gearbox struggled with. If you're looking to get the 6-0 Infinity Black Diamond, go ahead to 60pickleball.com and make sure to use the code BUTTER10. I'll leave the code and the link in the description. It should automatically apply the discount code for you at checkout. The paddle drops again on January 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure that you're one of the first people on there and get your hands on the new Infinity Black Diamond from 6-0. Thanks for watching the video. As always, make sure to subscribe to my channel below and also follow me on Instagram at BK_pickleball. I do put out a lot of content on there as well, and I am planning to do a real quick giveaway of a surprising new paddle that you might enjoy. So make sure to follow my Instagram channel at BK_pickleball and stay tuned for more information. Until next time, I'll see you later.